progress shot. I finished the last couple of side trim pieces. I got the ladder attached. You can see that back there. Next up is going to be the gutter and the awning. The awning goes on this side, and the awning itself, the fabric roll-up part, sits on a silver base, which is attached over the top of most of this rung of trim. So the next part that I need to do is run the vinyl cover, which is the plastic part that sits inside this track and covers all these screw holes. Vinyl cover being, I got a roll of 100 foot of it online, probably Rec Pro. Not a lot of money in the scheme of the whole repair. And what you do is secure it at one end, because it's vinyl and it shrinks over time unless you secure it. So you secure it at one end, and then you just run it into the track all the way up. And the way you run it into the track, I can't really demonstrate well with one hand, but you got to pinch. What you can see is it's mostly an arch with a couple of flanges on the edges. You got to pinch the whole thing together, and you can give it a pretty good pinch, like both sides can go together, and then it can slide in. I'd have to do it down here, and that's the part that's hard to pinch and ingress it right back where you're working. But that's the idea. I just want to let you know it takes a bit of force, but you give it a full pinch to get it in the groove, and it doesn't like damage or crease the trim job. I got the vinyl trim cover. I went all the way across. I didn't secure it like it was originally. I think I have enough vinyl trim cover to just do this all in one contiguous length. I didn't see any indication online that that's a bad idea. These things do shrink a little bit, but anyhow, trim cover's on, looks sharp. Next thing to do is the awning on this side. The awning itself, the rolled up fabric part, sits on this awning plate, which gets attached like so up here. And one thing I'm trying to do is line up exactly in this direction the awning, to reposition it in exactly the same position. Because of these holes under here, I do not want to make any more penetrations than necessary, so I'm really going to try to line up the new mounting holes with the existing mounting holes. So what you can see I did is I went along the edge here, and I felt each little bump, or if you pushed hard enough you could kind of see the relief of the hole in there. I marked a dot where each of those screw holes are, and then with this awning mostly in place, pretty close to lined up, put it in place, you press down and really get it down to where it's going to be, and I was able to visually see the dots behind several of these holes, so I knew I had it in the right spot, and so I screwed it in the right spot and one screw, and then up here I made a dotted line with my Sharpie all the way down the length of the awning mount base. You can see right there there is where the awning ends, and that dotted line now shows me where I need to run a bead of caulk all the way down, which is going to interface with this face right here, and I will put the butyl tape along the back side here, and then once again get my awning in place, stick a screw through, find some way to visually line up that screw with that hole, get it in place, and then secure the rest of it. Cool plan. Bye. Quick shot before I go mounting the awning mount plate on. Right here, I've got the butyl tape. And butyl tape. And up here, that section will be sealed with this bead of caulk. Not around all the way there. Again, I've got this mount plate right here. Once it's all ready to go, I'm going to flip it that way. So this top narrow surface will be covered by that caulking. This putty tape will be touching the wall out here. Awning mount plate is itself mounted and sealed. I'll show that from the top when I'm next up there. On the other side, the next step is the gutter. I noticed in previous videos how I found that the side of the rubber, the last, inch or two, the rubber in that last couple of inches was glued down. And I did not glue the rubber under the awning mount plate. I'm just gonna have to hope for the best with that, and that the rest of the penetrations on the actual top are gonna hold, because I'm not taking all that apart again. But on this side, I am gluing those first couple of inches, plus also a little bit of that roll there. And now I need to wait for it to dry. It goes on white and is clear when it's ready to go. I also need to clean up some drips in the meantime. So that's what's next. And then the gutter. This fella right here. Here's the awning mount plate from the top. You can see and remember I did the bead of DAP gutter caulk on top with the putty tape against the flat face there. The caulk job, I got enough. You don't want to be skimpy with it. So I got enough. I got a good seal in there. If that was a bathroom, I'd not be happy with the caulk job. But the deal is, I had a bunch of stuff squirted out. Again, that's because I had enough and it was all screwed in there. And I got a good tight connection. The caulk says clean up with mineral spirits. However, this roof specifically is an EPDM rubber roof. Mineral spirits are kind of a petroleum product, and EDPM is also a petroleum product. It's rubber, it's oil, yeah, it's petroleum-based rubber. And anyhow, the cleanup instructions for the caulk is corrosive to the roofing surface. So if you had like vinyl, you could clean that up and just to get a nice clean transition there. I just ran a gloved finger over the top and smoothed it out as best I could. This is all going to be covered up with lap sealant, which is going to cover the everything that you see. So it can be ugly, but the awning is on. Here are examples of the types of screws that have been 100% of the dismantling and reassembly of the roof, which is the trim, the awning, the gutter. The screws are the two that I have original examples of are these, I believe they're number 8 by 1 inch screws, roundish head, Phillips bit, 1 inch, I believe number 8. Also these self-tapping screws, which are slightly different than those. You can see the different tip there. Self-tapping screws, which are made for going into metal. That is the 2 of the 3 types of screws. 8 by 1 inch, number 8 by 1 inch. This is also number 8 by 1 inch tapping screw. Another one that I've used all of my originals of, I've got some dirty examples somewhere else, are these 10 by 1 1/4 screws. Looking at the hardware store, the best match for the originals, those, and the original version of those, I went with a stainless steel sheet metal screw specifically. They've got the same head, roundish head, Phillips bit. They call that Phillips pan. And I got a couple boxes of the stainless steel versions of those sheet metal screws, 8x1, 8x1 tapping, 10x1 1/4. And those have been all of the side trim. The combination has been everything. For the trim, I mixed it up. For the big, longer pieces of trim that went all the way down there and go all the way across to the other side there, I mostly used the big 10s at the ends and once or twice through the length of it, to give points of more strength, and then I filled in with the 8x1s. Anywhere that you're going into metal, which at the very bottom, I won't be able to show it here, but at the very bottom, you're going into sheet metal, which is kind of a gravel guard on the bottom couple of feet of the noses, front nose cap and the end cap. Anyhow, when you plan to go through metal, use the there we go, the tapper. Otherwise, for the trim, go with 10s on the ends and a couple of key points in between. Another key point is specifically around these corners where it's taking some stress and you're trying to suck that down into the frame as far as you can. I used the 10s where I expected, at the ends once or twice for secure points, and then where I needed extra holding power. Everything else I filled in with 8s. One tricky part, I don't know what it is, but up here on the front side-to-side piece, and I suspect on the other one too, I snapped the head off of several of these stainless steel number 10s going into here. Here's one example where that was like the fourth one I snapped. Yeah, the first two were surprises. The second two were testing if it was all possible. I don't know what's going on, but the guy at the hardware store said the only time he's seen anything like that is when you're trying to impact drill these through 2 sheets of metal. He's seen that on metal framed houses, and it's possible that I'm digging into an aluminum frame, 2 ends of an aluminum frame, or something about whatever frame member I'm plugging into here. It's got 2, probably like a tube of aluminum, square tube of aluminum, or something like that. When it goes through both pieces of the metal doesn't give. It's not going to shrink up anymore. So the screw just stops moving, but the impact driver twists the head off. It was wild to see. Do not use the 10s up top. The original ones actually all went in fine. I don't know what these are. The replacements, I sheared off the first 4 of the first 7 I tried. That's the last one that I'm going to cover up with some butyl putty or something, and it'll get lap sealant in the end too. But talking about screws, I would use the 8s up on these mostly. Be prepared. The 10s go far enough down into something that you'll snap the heads off. Don't use the 10s up here. Use them for strength points at the ends and in the middle for most of your other trim. The awning mount plate was all 10s, 10 by 1 1/4. That's a very heavy thing, so those were 100% 10s. The gutter is all these 8s by 1s, and the roof vents all seem to be 8 by 1s. That's how I've been applying the screws.